When I got the job in Shanghai in late 2005, Reinhard, who was back then China's chief photographer, well advised me to drop any preconceptions I might have about the place. From the outside, China appears a very different place from the China I found to exist. I could only try my best to stay away from the stereotype, and at this point, I believe it's not really possible to have a wide general analysis for China, because this place is too big and full of contradictions. This became apparent almost from the beginning of my assignment, so I tried to document what I saw around me in the street, to dig out different stories that could illustrate the different dimensions, and of course, to follow the news coming into Shanghai in a relatively low frequency. I encountered people richer than I could imagine, from guests at a private $32 million jewelry fashion show, a man taking his dogs to a flashy beauty salon once a week, or those aboard a luxury dating cruise ship for ultra-rich men to meet women. On the other end of the scale, I have photographed people who sleep next to their chicken, or push a cart loaded with vegetables all around the city, making a very basic living. I was based in Shanghai, a city of about 20 million people, including an estimated 5 million rural migrants. And as I got more and more inside of the city, the more contradictions I found. My background was a photographer in Israel covering pretty much only hard news. So even though the China's story is huge, it was challenging to produce something in a place, especially in Shanghai, where there's very little actual news. I slowly picked up some Mandarin, which helped me to go deeper inside the general story. I saw it as an integral part of my job to document ordinary daily life. Sometimes just riding on my bike around the city and allowing myself to be caught in whatever comes around. Other times, I researched a story I thought interesting or relevant and would try to get access to photograph it. I was asking myself questions like what the people here do after work, how they make a living, and what side of life haven't I seen. Many of the stories I've worked on during these years had some sort of social or cultural aspects. From young men on the weekend playing a full-on illegal warfare game in a far corner of Shanghai, or a hairdressing school with strict disciplinary methods, including press-ups. An Art Deco dancing hall in Shanghai took me back to the glory days of the city, before the Cultural Revolution. I had intimate observations of typical daily life at various weddings and funerals, or just a day out in the amusement park. It was interesting for me to cover some of China's leading stories, like rural healthcare, religious issues, unemployment, education, tourism trend, and a nationalistic boom after Sichuan earthquake around mid-2008. Breaking news was not comparable to Israel in terms of frequency, but nevertheless, the massive earthquake of 2008 in Sichuan was horrifying and very challenging in both operative and emotional terms. After the riots in Urumqi, sparked by ethnic clashes, the city was flooded with military and riot police, on trucks and on foot. Media access was relatively easy when the authority thought it's good for them, and turned to be very strict when they thought it's not good anymore. Working in China offers endless adventures and experiences. It's a place that keeps on surprising you from time to time. Even when you might think you saw it all, you always come across something new. During one of my assignments, I was photographing young kids during gymnastic training, holding on to the bar as their trainer counted down 5 minutes. Their reaction for this extreme situation was different. One trying to cheat, few just tried to get on with it and take the pain in, and one who couldn't stop crying. Someone once told me he saw an analogy of how people deal with life in this picture. I could see his point. The China I met is too diverse for any big statements. For me, it was a piece in an unfinished collage, and more than all, it was great fun.